These are 8 quarterback sleepers and busts for 2023 redraft fantasy football leagues. We're going to give you 4 sleepers and 4 busts at the quarterback position, kind of help you navigate your draft, get past those landmines and hit on some of these sleepers that we will mention. So I will start us off at number 1 here. First sleeper, Danny Dimes. We've talked about him in other videos. Not only have we mentioned him now as a sleeper, but he was even in our league winning video. So he just has one of the safest floors, and I think he's one of the safest picks in drafts this year, and he just has a ton of upside as well. He's being drafted at pick like 103, like basically like the 9th, 10th round in most drafts. And I just don't see how he, with his rushing upside, it's pretty impossible for him to not finish outside the top 12. So he had as many rushing attempts as Josh Allen did last year. It was just Fields, Lamar, and Hurts that really ran the ball more than him. He's just like everything he did last year was kind of sneaky. He had 7 rushing touchdowns. And then, of course, they added Waller, drafted Jalen Hyatt, Slayton's healthy, and it's just the second year in this Dable offense. The sky's the limit for Daniel Jones, and you will not be disappointed if you take him in your leagues.
I like it. All right. Our second sleeper at the quarterback position is going to be Geno Smith. Current ADP is 114, putting him at QB 15. Geno Smith finished as QB 5 in 2022. Obviously, crazy bounce back year. Completely blew out the rest of his previous career totals. Threw for over 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and led the league with a 70% completion percentage. He also had the 4th highest on target percentage and lowest percentage of bad throws. So very, very, very consistent, very accurate. On top of that, he didn't screw up in the red zone. 18 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So while Geno doesn't run the ball a ton, he did actually average 21.5 yards per game last year. That's going to get you a little bit of extra points, a little cherry on top there. And then pair that with having one of the top skill position groups in the league. Obviously, you've got DK, Tyler Lockett. They add JSN in the draft, Kung Fu Kenny, and the wine man Charbonnet in the backfield. And then you look at the division, right? You've got the Rams and the Cardinals in rebuild mode. The Seahawks are not going to face as tough of a competition as that division has been in years past. And I think Geno Smith very clearly has shown that he can outproduce a QB 15 tag. So that is why he's one of our sleepers.
Yeah, Geno. Let Geno cook.
18 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
He was like the most accurate quarterback last year.
Yep, led the league.
Alrighty. So coming here at number 3, we've talked about this guy quite a bit here, and that's going to be Russell Wilson. His current ADP is around 140, going around in the 11th to 12th round of your drafts. He's QB 18 off the board at this point in time. One of the reasons why we like Russell Wilson, I understand last year we were high on him as well. Obviously, that didn't work out as we planned. Killed me in my drafts and a lot of my season-long teams. But this year's a bounce-back year for him. And one of the reasons why, or a couple of reasons why he's one of our biggest QBs that we're talking about in a sleeper here. Sean Payton's the new head coach there. Obviously with Nathaniel Hackett last year, things didn't pan out. Sean Payton is an offensive-minded coach. They bring in, a new offensive coordinator as well with Lombardi, who was paired with Sean Payton down in New Orleans. Lombardi is coming from the Chargers, who in years past, the last 2 years, have had a very strong offense. They were top 10 in offense the last 2 years and number 5 in points in 2021. Those huge numbers will definitely benefit a very talented roster, both defensively and offensively here. Obviously, the Broncos did reassure their offensive line this year as well. giving them one of the top offensive lines in the NFL by PFF. So with just those couple of factors right there, I do think, that fully benefits Russell Wilson going in this year. He's lost weight. He's looked healthier and stronger than he ever has. His offensive targets are Judy, Sutton, and Mims on the outside. Mims has been blowing up in the in training camp this year. A lot of positive news coming out over there. And then last two things here for you. Wilson, last year after Nathaniel Hackett was fired, there's 2 games remaining. Wilson averaged at least 24.3 fantasy points in those last 2 games. And with the cherry on top, as Alex likes to say, Broncos have the 5th easiest quarterback schedule next year. So with all these factors into play coming into this year, I think Russell Wilson is a strong candidate to finish in the top 12 for sure.
Risky bet like last.
Russ, let's ride.
Yeah.
I mean, we got him.
He's just, he go like last year we were taking the 8th, 9th round consistently. And then, he comes on at the end of the year. Finally, things are clicking after Hackett leaves. Sean Payton's there now. He's just there for you. Again, he's a sleeper. He's there for you if you miss out on the elite quarterbacks and some of the, like Daniel Jones, like I just mentioned. He's there just in case you miss on all those guys.
Yeah. All right, so for our final sleeper, another guy outside of the top 10 who we think should be a consensus top 10 quarterback this year is our man down in Miami, Tua. Obviously, he has some of the best weapons in the game with Tyreek and Waddle, but something interesting from last year, he was the number 1 ranked quarterback for passer rating, yards per attempt, and touchdown percentage with 6 3/2%. So pretty good stats when he was healthy. Obviously, he falls outside of the top 10 just with that concussion, injury risk to him. But I hear he's put on 10, 15 pounds of muscle. He's tried to bulk up a little bit more to protect himself from some of these big hits. He's going to be playing at like 235, 240 pounds, which is pretty big for a guy. It's only 6'1". So looking for him to, stay healthy all year, land himself in the top 10. And I think, we saw it at the beginning of the year last year. Miami was putting up 40 points every single game at will. So obviously he's got the big play potential and some of his weapons. And they didn't really sign any big free agents, at least yet, in the running back position that could sneak some of that goal line work away. It's all speedsters here, all big play potential. Go get the 50+ bonus points for touchdowns for that. And that's why he's one of our sleepers for the year. So
also, on to top off of that, he has a new tribal tattoo sleeve that's just going to, bring in that Hawaii energy where he's from and just sling the rock. I mean, I heard once you get that tattoo, your ADP should boost to number 1.
He's got that added swag this year.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, so we're on the bus.
Yeah.
All right, so for the first quarterback bust we have here is Aaron Rodgers. So right now, Rodgers is going, just want to make sure I have it right, at around pick 100. So he's kind of going at the beginning of the 9th round. Now, last year, Rodgers, I know he didn't really have a whole lot of weapons to work with, but he finished as quarterback 14. But in points per game, just taking like his average fantasy points per game, because there was a lot of quarterback, like Tua would have finished ahead of him. There's some other quarterbacks that were injured that would have finished ahead of him. He was quarterback 26 in points per game. He never once cracked 20 fantasy points. His highest game was like 19.1. I understand he's in a new offense, but so Garrett Wilson, obviously alpha wide receiver, but the defense is going to be very good on the Jets. I think they're going to rely on the run very, very heavily here. They're going to be able to sit on some leads. I don't think that they're just going to be in these big, big shootouts. And also, he's just going ahead of guys like we just mentioned. We just talked about Daniel Jones. We just talked about Geno Smith. Those guys are going after Rodgers. And it's just, and also Aaron Rodgers, he's a name in redraft leagues that will always just end up going higher in your casual leagues with your friends because of the name recognition and the excitement of him playing on the Jets. So just avoid Aaron Rodgers. I do think he is a landmine in this year's draft. And I again, just besides Wilson, they don't really have any other like all the weapons. It's like running backs, Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook. It's going to be a very run heavy offense. So, and that offensive line, not very good. So I just avoid Aaron Rodgers in drafts this year.
All right. Next guy we got on our QB bust list is Dak Prescott. Current ADP on Fantasy Pros is 84, putting him at QB 10. Dak Prescott led the league in interceptions last year with 15 in 12 games. He has also shown massive regression over the last 4 years. Last year, he went down to 7.3 yards per attempt, which was his lowest on average since 2017. He went down from 278 yards per game in 2021 to 238 yards per game in 2022. And coming out of college, he was a guy who had some rushing upside. He wasn't like one of these guys that's, run, dual threat, but hasn't had that same upside since 2020 when his ankle went 90 degrees the wrong direction. He ran for 6 TDs in the first 3 seasons of his career, but has only ran for 8 total in the last 4 years, with only 1 in 2021 and only 1 in 2022. He was also 27th in the league in passer rating with Kellen Moore. So all of these 2022 stats are with Kellen Moore, one of the better offensive minds in the NFL. Now we're getting Mike McCarthy, who has made it abundantly clear he wants to rest that stud defense that he's got. He's going to want to run the ball significantly more. And I expect all of these numbers for Dak to continue to stay in these low levels that he's been putting up the last couple of years. He's being drafted as a QB 10, and I don't think he finishes nearly at that level or inside the top 10 this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like compare, like in redraft leagues, he's going so high. Like what at the beginning of the 7th round.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it's just, and that is not only like just the player. That is like a golden pocket for running backs this year in drafts. So it's just he's just also going in a horrible spot in draft. So it's just hard to get him if he's going that early.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. So coming in here at number 3 for busted up quarterbacks who should probably avoid this year is going to be fan favorite here of Alex Kellison as Justin Fields. Justin Fields' current ADP right now is 47, and he is the QB 7 off the board coming in around the end of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th. Obviously last year, Justin Fields
End of the 4th. End of the 4th. Sorry.
So basically, like I said, last year blew the doors off, surprised a lot of people. Basically, I feel like he went undrafted in most leagues last year, and he was a pickup candidate. Obviously last year he ran for the 2nd most yards all time by a quarterback, with, over the 1,300 mark. Funny thing about that is, 70 of his 89 carries last year were actually scrambles. They weren't designed runs. They've made it clear that Justin Fields, obviously he's a dual threat quarterback, but wanting him to be a pocket passer is the main goal here. And in Chicago, they just don't have the weapons that other teams do. They're getting better. They picked up DJ Moore, but other than that, there's a significant drop off. I mean, they just paid Cole Kmet, middle of the road tight end. I mean, then you got Darnell Mooney, and then you got why am I drawing blank on his name?
Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool. So they're just they're a run first team anyways. I mean, they have 3 decent running backs back there. They obviously want to run the ball, protect Justin Fields. Last year, his passing grade was atrocious. Pro Football gave him a 54.5, which was the lowest, and a 60% completion rate. I just think he's just going way too high. And obviously last year was, I believe, his ceiling. I just don't think, he runs the ball as much. I mean, those scrambles accounted for 721 yards of his total yards on the round or on the ground. So I just don't think, he gets to that 1,300 mark, let alone the 1,000 mark. I think he's anywhere between like the 500 to 900 range in yards on the ground, and obviously he will score touchdowns that way. But I just think with the quarterbacks going later, like we mentioned, I just think there's better positions to pick up there than a quarterback at this position.
Yeah, obviously one of the highest risk players you could take in that round. Staying away. So we're going to round out our busts for quarterbacks with probably our hottest take, Patrick Mahomes. This is not an indication to say he's going to have a terrible year or anything like that. This is purely off of his draft position and his opportunity cost. He's the number 14th overall ADP right now. So early second round, right? Like you're supposed to get your superstars there. When you have other quarterbacks later on who can provide just as much upside, it just doesn't make sense to take him in the second round. It's too much of an opportunity cost. So there's also a significant risk Travis Kelce at his age starts to see some regression. And last year, the Saints didn't really find their Tyreek Hill replacement, right?
Chiefs. Saints.
What did I say? Oh, I was looking at the Saints colors, maybe. Yeah, the Chiefs didn't really find their main receiver from last year. So it was the Juju and MVS show. Juju's gone, so maybe Sky Moore replaces him. He didn't really do anything last year, and they didn't add anyone big in free agency. So if that Travis Kelce regression hits, I don't think he's going to have another 5,000-yard season with 41 touchdowns. So too expensive here. Great quarterback. Nothing against his play. Just doesn't make sense in redraft formats.
Yeah, you're just kind of drafting him at his absolute ceiling. Like we've never seen quarterbacks go this early. He's
coming off a career year.
Coming off a career year. He's finished as quarterback 1 2 times in his career. He's finished as quarterback 4 2 times and like quarterback 8. So like his average finish is around 4-ish, and that's not gonna pay off 15 overall tag when, like we said, there's so many other dual threat quarterbacks and guys that can come close to him. So yeah, that's definitely our boldest take, but I think we'll be right on that one. So that will do it for this episode. 8 sleepers and busts. We'll be back for each of the other positions, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe. Helps out the channel a lot, and we will see you next time.